Welcome to the Big Roofs Podcast, the podcast where we talk to successful roofing contractors and industry leaders about how you can build a bigger, better, more profitable roofing business. We're your hosts, John and AJ, and just us today. We're just chatting. So let's get right into it. How's it going today, John?
It's going well. I just decided this week I'm just not going to lose. It's been a rough year, honestly, and so we are. A lot of my life is going pretty well, except for we've been slow in our business, and that does affect a lot of things in my life. But today, I think before we hit record, we're going to talk about the topic of being relentless. I know this is a commonly shared book by Tim Grover. From Good to Great to Unstoppable. It takes me a long time to actually retain knowledge, so I have to audible it and read it at the same time. But I think today we don't have a really big framework for what we're going to talk about, except that mentality as it relates to roofing contractors. So yeah,
Yeah,
doing pretty well. Thinking about that kind of stuff this week.
that's awesome. So you've decided that you're gonna win.
Yeah, I was tired of losing. And so yesterday I was just like, I'm just gonna call people until I get a signed contract. And I did. I know
You
a
got
lot
a
of people,
signed contract?
yeah, I just did. I just like this is going to happen today. And
Nice.
so it did. It's we don't have a ton of leads in our pipeline, but I was like, there's always a way to find something. And there's a lot of better salespeople than me. There's a lot of great sales trainers out there. But we've just really struggled this year not only getting the leads, but then closing the leads. And we're not even losing those jobs. The homeowners are not doing anything. I don't know if it's the economy. I don't know if it's the uh, political climate. I don't know if whatever international people are freaked out for some reason over the past 6 to 8 months. And so just working through overcoming objections. And like, again, I feel like we need to train ourselves more as a roofing industry in general. And you have to have intent to really want to take care of that customer. Because I feel bad when a customer chooses a chuck in a truck and then they have problems. And I blame myself because we didn't show enough value. And I think that we should take that really seriously. If we want to improve, if you're listening and watching this and you want to improve the roofing industry, you're trying to do all the right things to help your customers. You have to be relentless and you have to understand how to make your team relentless and with under the mindset of helping your customer, whatever your company values are.
Yeah, so there's things that you can control and there's things that you can't control, right? And so maybe I think that's when we're talking about being relentless and pushing through. I think it's good to kind of focus in. Well, where are you going to be relentless? So let's go through in the roofing business. What are things that are outside of a roofing contractor's control? What are the elements of the equation that's not worth really spending any time on, any energy on?
The first one comes to mind is weather. Whether you're retail or insurance, you can't control the weather. So you're like, I rely on these storms. Well, that's not in your control at all. Or if you're retail and you're trying to schedule, you have production issues because of weather. It's not in your control at all. That's the
Yeah.
first thing I think of. I feel like we're all part-time weather people.
So weather, um, the economy.
I'd say the economy as a whole, yeah, you can't control that. Um, yeah, definitely that's something I wouldn't even think about. A lot of these things I don't even think about. Going back to the relentless thing, I always focus on things I can control. So it's hard for me to think about the things I can't control.
Yeah. Well,
I-
let's talk about the other way. I thought we'd go through what you can't control and then
no, I
move
like it. No, because here's another
but
thing you can't control. You cannot control the economy, which inadvertently could affect, even though you can argue back and forth. You can't really control your material costs. People complain about that a lot.
yeah.
If you're going to be a top tier roofing contractor, you're going to pick one of the 5 to 7 manufacturers. And if you, aside from getting material from wholesalers, which is an option, you're not actually, it's not comparing apples to apples. You're a value contractor versus a premium roofing contractor. So you can't really control material costs. You should be proactive about understanding the competition between that, but you can't really control material costs as a whole. That's probably the third thing. So weather, economy, material costs.
But you can get discounts from your suppliers and stuff, but like, well, how much is that realistically? 10% difference on
If you're
cost?
a high volume, if you're no, we're not talking 10%. No. It's
Less?
a few. I mean, people listening, watching me like, I know the secret. Good for you. You're all in different markets. In our markets, we have ABC, SRS, Beacon. Those are the 3 biggest that we use. And they're really close in pricing. I would say one mistake I made, what you can control with material pricing, is keeping your suppliers accountable with their aggressiveness in their pricing. Because at one point last year, I was 6 to 7% higher by using one supplier versus the other. And
Okay.
so
That is substantial.
that is a big difference. But that is, again, if you just stay on the ball, then you can control that part. So this is kind of 2 things. I know I said material costs, you can't control it, but what you can control is that part of it
Who
is
you
like
buy from.
it's who you buy from and when, because certain ones raise their prices at certain times, and that's pretty much all over the country that people decide as an organization when they're going to raise their prices or not.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's something else.
Um, okay. And the economy, I mean, I mean, it's really those 3 elements that are the main ones that you can't control. That are heavy influences here. Is there anything else that we're missing?
Okay, so as we're talking, sign contract.
Nice.
It's
Before
important
we
for me.
focus on what we can control, though.
Okay.
That's congratulations, though. That's awesome.
I'm just shout out to ProLine because that was an automation that followed up with them.
Hey,
Hey, okay, something you
the
can't
CRM
control.
that actually sells jobs for you, literally.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I said we're gonna, yeah, so we'll get off on topic on that. So things you can't control. This is again, this is very hard for me to think about because I focus my efforts so hard on things
Which
I
is
can
good.
control.
I think it's good. I think I'm only bringing this up so that we can then entirely focus on what we can control after, and we don't get
Yeah.
distracted with this. So let's like outline. Maybe we start with this, and we can always put more in this category later. But these are maybe we start with this. Let's maybe refocus now and talk about. All right, what are the elements that we can control, or that a roofing contractor can control when it comes to how their business performs?
So you can control how you market. You can control if you use pay per click. We can go through the whole list of things. Online marketing, in-person marketing. Do you door knock? Do you use postcard, yard sign, door hangers? Do you wrap your trucks? How you market and how you brand, which are 2 different things, but those are things that it's a major differentiator on how you want to position yourself in your particular city, town, market. So marketing is a huge thing you can control, both effort, energy, and money. That's a really huge part. I think that a lot of roofing contractors underplay and undervalue. And I'm noticing this for myself, how I've really cared about it the whole time. This is our 8th year in business, but I'm really thankful that we invested in the rebrand because of it's so beneficial to us. So I think marketing's the first thing you can control.
Marketing, branding, your marketing and your brand. Well, I mean, branding is a subset of marketing, right?
It is. I mean, I didn't take a lot of time, effort, and energy on branding to market that brand in the beginning, and I've taken an enormous amount of effort to do that as we rebranded. So yes, branding and marketing are kind of tied together. I would say the next thing would be your sales process. What does that look like? Do you understand your ideal customer? Do you understand what your types of customers want to see and the journey experience they want to feel as they go through that sales process? Do you door knock again? Do you door knock? Do you rely heavily on marketing to have incoming leads? Do you have a phenomenal proposal, or do you have a one-page deal? Do you work through the pain points in your sales process and then, you know, flush those out and then understand how you can build that roof together with your homeowner? Do you have a team of sales? Do you have an inside and an outside salesperson that kind of work together to help that customer make the decision? Your sales process is definitely something you can control and work on pretty much every week. You can always tweak it and make it better. That's the second thing you can control, and I'm always trying to make it better.
Sales process. I mean, you can't control material pricing, but you can control what we say maybe your profit margin.
Yeah, so then that's something that's come up quite a bit. It's connected to those two things, the sales process and material pricing. Understanding your numbers is a thing that I'm actually doing this week. I have a really comprehensive form that I'm going through that I really am dreading, that Tisha and I are going to work on this week. And it's understanding where every single dollar goes so that you can control your profit margin on the selling part of things. So get not just as an owner or a sales manager, but that trickles down to your sales team, so that if you feel confident in your numbers, you understand why you have to charge X gross profit. And you actually reduce a lot of like begrudging salespeople too. So if you thing you can control is understanding your numbers, educate and be transparent with your entire team, so that when the salespeople are selling a job for 45% profit, 30% profit, whatever the number is, they're not like, oh, this company's making so much money. They understand the indirect and the direct costs, the overhead costs, all these things. They understand. If you can be transparent with understanding your numbers with your team, that's something that you can control and continue to communicate and be transparent with. That just helps everyone. It helps people sell more jobs, and it helps people be more satisfied in their role in the business.
Yeah. Makes
And
sense.
connected to that is material costs. So you have to understand that really well.
Yeah. One thing, going back to what we can't control, we can't, as a roofing contractor, you can't control your competition. Would that be accurate to say?
Yeah, you can control your competition. You cannot do that.
I mean, you can try.
You could try. I would say this is great because some of these are kind of there's probably a fancy word for it. There's a duality of each one of these things. Some of these things you cannot control who your competition is, but you can control how you as a leader talk about them or not talk about them, which should trickle down as a leader to all the members, from receptionists, inside sales, outside sales, every production manager, how you talk about your competition and how you portray yourself. And are you trying to elevate the industry? So yeah, you can't control who that is, but you can control how you interact directly with the competition or indirectly through a customer or through a center of influence, or just like, hanging out with people, like basically just not talking bad about your competition. Like,
How do you think that affects that specifically? Do you think that makes a big impact on the business?
drastic difference. If you want someone to know, like, and trust you, Talking bad about somebody else does not support that, because it can only talking bad about another competitor can only be a negatively viewed. Either you feel this person feels threatened by this competitor, they do something better, or um, if you're just deviating the the definition of that individual or that organization from like reality, if that other competitor really is trying to be a good source for roofing in your market, and you're talking bad about them, you're just not helping yourself. Like,
Yeah.
there are other people. The saying that plenty of um there's plenty of pie for everybody, or whatever that saying is. I get it. Some people are like, well, let's just dominate the market, which is kind of true. You should be trying to win every single job, but you don't have to do it at the expense of belittling or talking bad about your competitors. So you can't control who they are. All you can do is control who you are as an organization and as individuals on how you interact directly and indirectly with your competition.
Your attitude toward, you can control your attitude towards your competition.
Attitude and actions, correct.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good split there. Um, what else can we control? And we control like numbers of hours in the day spent on the business.
When you wake up, when you go to bed, you can control your personal time management. Do you exercise? Do you eat healthy? Are you um, serving? Like, being a well-rounded individual is really important, because they all support each other. If you're trying to be a good husband or wife and a good parent, and you're trying to understand the why, you're really intimately aware of why you're doing this and owning this business and in the roofing industry in general. If you can really nail that, that's what we do a lot with Dave Sullivan and the Roofer Coach. The first question we ask is why, and we really get into more than just the professional goals. Yeah, you need to be well rounded and controlling your personal time management and understanding that's something you really can control. There's everybody has limitations. Everybody has different challenges each day and each week and each month. You have 0 kids, you have 3 kids, you have 5 kids, you're not married, you are married, you have, all kinds of struggles and challenges. Just time management is a huge thing that people kind of don't realize, that every minute counts, and how efficient can you be each day,
Yep.
and how hard are you working on the business, basically, and how efficient and effective, not necessarily how many hours and minutes you're working, but how efficient and how effective are you each day.
Yeah. So we can control that. Also who you hire, right?
Oh yeah. Yes. So this is kind of getting into a gray area. You can control who you hire. You cannot control their character, and then all those things we just talked about, the time management, all those things. You can't control that necessarily, because you can set expectations and then they just don't meet them, and then you fire them. Okay, that's a healthy leader. However, before you hire someone, understanding the roles, the organization chart, org chart of your business, and what each role needs to accomplish to make the organization successful. That's number one. And then really nailing down each role's expectation. I think you can take, a B player and turn him into an A player just by doing that part. But then understanding, like, the soft skills of understanding people and how they react to adversity and how they handle tough situations and what their worldview is, as far as like how they want to help people. Are they money focused? There's a lot of books and courses about like who you hire and how you should hire, but yeah, you can't control the individual, but you can control the process of hiring people.
which I guess also bridges into culture. You can control the culture of your business
Definitely.
and should control the culture of your business.
Yep.
I
I
don't
think
know if
it's
that's, do you think it's necessary when it comes to culture to like have like core values and mission and vision, all of that? I feel like it's bigger. Culture is bigger than that. Those might be tools
yeah.
to help with culture, but what do you think?
I don't know. I think it's good for some people. Some people really it depends on what type of organization you want. Do you want a monarch roofing huge corporate feel where we have chants together and you talk about the same things, and it does help those types of organizations? Or do you want a more laid back feel? I mean, it's very clear the people that I hire want a more laid back, they want a family focused, freedom based lifestyle. Like that's because that's what I want. I'm not going to expect people to be different than me. And, and so I think that it depends on the type of business you want. Um,
Those sound like core values to me. Family focused,
yeah, they are. But
freedom.
as far as like having them, chanting them together, having them on a plaque on a wall, repeating them every day. Like here's a good example. So I ask my kids 3 questions every single night, and that's important to me that they understand that because they repeat it back to me. But that's not important to me in the roofing business because it is different. The things that we care about, um, my team already cares about already because that's why we work together. We've been working together for a long time. That's why.
You select people that they don't need to know the core values because they live them, but they live them
Correct.
already.
They already have a reputation for doing these things and living this way. So like I don't have to wonder. People, every single person that's worked for me, no, that's not true. But just understanding how I run the business is attracted to the same type of people. That's what's happened.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, I think there's a good place for core values personally, but I also haven't run, other than working in your roofing business, I haven't myself run a roofing business. I just know from my experience with ProLine, it's been highly impactful to have
Mm-hmm.
these core values as we've been scaling up the team. Um, just to have something around which to center the conversation, especially if you're bringing in more than one person at a time. It's just like knowing that James, as he hires sales reps and our marketing builds out our marketing team, is having the exact same conversation about culture that I'm having with people that are coming in on the product side or our support team. Um, that I think is really valuable. So I think it also maybe depends on the team size.
Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest factor actually, because I'm so individually focused on Clay, on Cameron, on Kathleen, on Tisha. I want their days and weeks to go well. And we're talking about the same things in all those conversations, but they do vary slightly. But yeah, as we scale, yeah, you do need
More
something
structure.
to center the mutual goal for everyone.
But I think this underlines the really important thing, which is like core values for the sake of having core values is useless.
Yes.
Core values are only valuable in that they verbalize and codify what is already going on culture wise in the business. Like I think I think pretty much every relatively large company in America has a set of core values, right? But a lot of those businesses are not well run and they don't have good culture and they don't have good teams.
Yeah.
And it's like having core values is not, it's just a tool, and how you use that tool and whether or not you've used that tool to promote a culture that you've set already. Like the culture is independent from the core values. It's just a tool. So like I think this is what you're kind of inferring is like where companies are like, let's set our core values. All right, check box on culture. We set our core values,
Yeah.
right? But it's I feel like what you're getting at is you have a culture, you know what the culture is, and you've intentionally hired around that culture. And it's only necessary to put that into a list of core values if you're going to start accelerating hiring or scaling up the business where you now need a little bit more like structure around which to talk about it. But the culture, it's almost like the culture comes first, then the core values.
It's true. And it comes directly from the leader, like whatever the leader, however much I have put effort into that. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So other things we can control. Um, what about, well, what do you think? What do you think? What are we missing here?
I mean, there's a lots of things you can control and can't control. Um,
Maybe where you allocate your money.
yeah, it kind of goes back to knowing your numbers and then understanding marketing and sales. And yeah, that's true. I mean, understand your personal finances and how that affects the business finances. 100%.
But also, I mean, maybe this is a marketing decision, but it's like, do you invest the money into building an amazing website or do you buy a brand new truck, lifted truck? I think like that can make, and it's not necessarily that one is better than the other, right? It could depend on factors, but wouldn't you say like that is a choice that contractors have?
It is a choice. I think that it actually goes, that one topic actually cuts deep to a lot of people that they want to live a certain lifestyle. We just had a parade this weekend. It's called the Beach Bum Parade, where everybody there's another roofing contractor there, and they have the lifted trucks, and like they took a smart car and lifted it and put big tires on it, and were dragging a boat that they was like just very out there, and that was intentional. They want people to see them. It just depends on like that. If that goes back to branding and marketing, though. It's like people don't realize that that's really what that is. It's like, who do they know, like, and trust you based on that decision to buy the big jacked up truck versus investing significant income in your website, which is supposed to bring actual value and education and understanding and trust to your customer. Like, there's obviously, how I feel about that based on that, but it's true. Like, there's a lot of decisions we can make that can benefit us personally, and under the guise of it's for the business. It's like, is it for the business? I think it's being a business owner is a lot about sacrifice, and that's a lot of people are not willing to sacrifice for a long time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'd counter that. It's like I'd just play devil's advocate and be like, well, like a lifted smart car does make a lot of conversations happen.
Sure does.
People talk about that.
So that gets you to know someone and like someone. Maybe like them.
Yeah.
But I would venture to say it does not bring trust. Almost certainly, actually, because you can say that builds trust, but when they see the contract for $20,000 and they see our trucks, which are intentionally work trucks, steel wheels, no lift kit, they're nicely wrapped. Every part of that vehicle is for business. No part of it is for pleasure at all, or like something unique that's for us as an individual, but it's for the business. Human nature says 99 times out of 100, you're going to build trust using the work truck versus any type of customized money spent on this vehicle in a flamboyant way. We've sold lots of roofs, and the customer specifically said, your professionalism so much more because you don't waste money on this type of truck, that type of truck. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like a cheat code. So, I mean, that's if that's your ideal customer, like somebody who likes upper middle class, upper class, they care about the same types of things, you should probably carry yourself in that same way. How you dress, what you drive, that all those things matter. Continually, again, going back to sacrifice. Are you willing to sacrifice those personal things that you want for the greater good of your business and your entire team? That's that's a big deal. Like, oh, I want to be my own boss so I can do whatever I want. That's not how this works. If you want to achieve certain things, you have to sacrifice even more than if you were an employee.
That's the difference maker right there. Another thing related to this, we're talking about allocating money, is I mean it's kind of part of the same conversation. It's like, what tools do you use? I mean, we're talking about trucks. Like, what tools do you use? Do you use the normal professional work truck, or do you use the flamboyant, lifted, jacked up, truck? And so, like, that's which tool are you deciding to use? But I think it also applies to like what software you use. What CRM are you using? I mean, what other tools?
If your thought for anything that you do, if it's the material that you buy for the roof, if it's the software you have, if it's anything that's solely related to the business, if your initial thought is, I want the cheapest thing that gets me by, just gets me by. I want the cheapest thing that I will spend money on, and everything else that is connected to me personally in some way. The truck is just a great thing we're going to keep coming back to because they drive the truck for themselves. Even if it's wrapped and vinyled up, and they still get to drive the jacked up truck. It is fun. I love big diesel trucks. That's fine. But it's not a sacrifice that shows where your values really are. If you're picking a software, people complain about HubSpot and AccuLinks being super expensive, but they're not putting any effort into the tools. Like these can be good tools. Then they're like, well, let's get the cheapest thing. Let's get whatever. Let's get the cheapest seat for Job Nimbus, the cheapest seat for this. And people, I just watch it all the time in the Facebook groups, switching from all these CRMs. They're like, well, this one's too expensive. Let's go to ProLine. Let's go. Well, that's too expensive. Let's go back to Roofer. And then like they're not putting the effort into the tools that matter to build their business. It's like you have to be laser focused on the platform that you use that communicates with everyone on your team, every single customer. Like this is the thing that makes you money. Use the tools in the right way to make yourself money. Like that's and make your not just make money, but make your life easier. Like you can't just say I'm going to spend more money or spend less money and be better. You understand if you care about communicating with your team and with customers in a superior way. You want to text them, you want to see every text message, you want to call everybody, you want to have every phone call recorded. You care about the entire activity, the sales process. You're going to pick ProLine. If you just want the cheapest thing, you're going to pick one of the other options and just kind of like struggle along with that because you want these things, but you're not willing to put the effort. It's the same. It's for every part of your business. You have to put the effort in and you have to understand the vision for your company.
Yeah. Okay, so let's circle back. We're talking about being relentless. So now we've outlined, and maybe we don't have everything on the board here, but we've outlined some things that we can't control, some things that we can control. So with all this in mind, what does being relentless in business look like for a roofing contractor? Or not even for a roofing contractor, but for you as a roofing contractor, what does relentless look like?
I mean, it's a mindset. I know people don't like to talk about that, but like you have to get your mind right and be like, I'm going to do this thing until I achieve the results I want. You have to be able to control the situations because of your actions. You have to be able to adapt in situations material pricing, all these other things that we can't control. You have to be able to adapt. And you have to be able to, I know we talked about respecting your competition, but understanding the weaknesses that other competitors may have, and in my opinion, a very fair and kind way, not necessarily talking about the competition, but attack the competition by improving yourself. That's what it means to be relentless to me. You control your situation, what you can control. You are able to adapt to all types of variables you can't control. And then you understand your ideal customer and are able to essentially disprove all of these objections that other people may be bringing. That could be price, material, whatever it is. And essentially indirectly attack your customer, your competition, to help your customer make the right decision, which is to choose you. That's what it means to be relentless. Essentially, that's what I hear from reading that book from Tim Grover. That's what his definition is. And they're talking about Kobe Bryant and all these basketball players too. But that's what it is. If you can do those things, you consistently do them day in and day out, week in and week out, then that's being relentless.
Makes sense. What things, so you're saying that you're have this renewed focus in your business on being relentless. What is the, like, what specifically are you, like, where are you spending your time this week? Like, where and how is it, I mean, and everything you just said totally makes sense. And like a lot of it's just not giving up and it's like continuing to stay focused and
Yep.
continue to improve. But like, how, with you, this renewed focus that you have right now, how are you spending your time this week?
A lot is on the phone, a lot is in ProLine, a lot is understanding the landscape of our business through the eyes of Pro. That's one thing I love about ProLine, because I don't have to wonder what's going on with each customer. It's really important. I don't have to call Claire Camera or T-shirt can or I don't have to call anyone. Kathleen, hey, Kat, what's happening with this? I know exactly what's happening with each customer. So I know how to react in each situation. Okay, well, they were reached out to 2 days ago. I will do another follow-up from another phone number and call that person, leave a voicemail, text that person, resend the proposal. That's just an action that I can do that's in my control, that shows the customer that we want to do business with them. That's a very, very straightforward thing you can do. You understand the situation of where this prospect, where this potential customer is, and you don't look like an idiot by saying something wrong or doing something wrong because somebody else has already done that. You already know they texted them and called them and emailed them. I already know that. And I know when they did it and I know what happened and what was the result. That's a really, really straightforward thing that anyone can do, that you can control your day, control your hour, say for this amount of time, I have a meeting at 4 o'clock. I'm going to do these actions with everyone in my pipeline at both locations. I'm going to go through every single person and call and text and email all those people. That's a relentless activity that you can do that will, move the needle, push things forward, that anyone should be doing. And I'm amazed at the number of people that will not do that. I'm going to get rejected. Okay. Then move to the next person and ask them too, because they reached out to you. I do say this quite a bit with our team. If someone has used Roof Quote Pro on our website, they have a desire for something with roofing. So we need to attack with all speed to say, we're going to be the most persistent. We're going to be the most assertive in the way that we pursue that person. They reached out to us. I don't care if they haven't given their phone number and email. We're going to send them a postcard forever. They reached out to us. Customers want their problem fixed. Maybe they saw Roof Quote Pro and it's too high, or they didn't expect it, sticker shock, whatever it is. It is our responsibility to pursue a win, pursue a sale every single time. It doesn't matter what your preconceived notion is about that individual or their property or their roof or whatever it is. Our job is to be relentless and pursue that prospect until we get told to pound sand. That's it. That's it. And we have to remind ourselves all the time. I'm not perfect at this all the time, but that is our job. So relentless activity is me doing it personally and then also encouraging and showing my team how to do the same thing.
Yeah.
To have an exponential impact.
I know this is something that I think is a hang up for a lot of people is like they're afraid to annoy the customer.
Totally.
They're very much in their own head around like, oh, if I reach out too many times, I'm gonna annoy them and that's gonna be a problem.
Yep.
And I think that's partly because you're think I think there's a bias of like, oh, I'm spending all day talking to everybody. So and you're kind of on edge. So you're like, everyone I talk to must be on edge too. When in reality, like they haven't heard from you in 3 days. They don't even
No.
they barely remember who you are. So and like you following up once a day is not going to annoy them because they have a lot of other things going on. They're not thinking about you all day long. You might be thinking
People
about them all day long.
That's right. They people have busy lives. This is our job to sell roofs and to build roofs and to invoice for roofs. That's our job. Their job is to do what they're supposed to do, take care of their kids, go on dates with their wife, whatever it is. That's what they're thinking. They don't care about the roof. So calling and texting somebody twice in one day seems like an insane thing for some people. But guess what? People do that to me all the time. And they do it in the morning and then they do it in the afternoon. And then guess what I do? Oh, I'm free this moment in the afternoon. So then I respond to them, either a text or I answer the phone call, whatever it is. We're all super busy. So you got to get over that. If you want something to save your business, be more persistent. If they tell you to go away, fine, totally fine. I mean, I blame myself for a roof we lost last week. I did everything right. The guy loved me. We were offering financing. He's like, I can't do it. I got to do it next year. I'm going to do this plan. It's going to be 36 months financing, blah, blah, blah. So I set the reminder up. A year later came, the automation went. I called him, I texted him, and I was relentless for a week. And he's like, we actually hired this company in March. And it's like, that is a problem. He did not, lie to me a year ago. He was honest. He's like, it's gonna be a while before I do this roof. This is why it's important to be super persistent, because he probably started thinking about this again in January or February. And I would have had a shot to do the job because of certain situations specific to this job. I would have been able to improve our proposal a little bit to show the options. It wasn't even about price. It was just because I wasn't there ready to help him at the time of need. And that is a great example. It's like a $35,000 roof that we could have had if we were just more proactive on the follow-ups and the persistence with this customer. And that just shows, it's just a good example of like, didn't want to lose that one. It's a great neighbor. It's an amazing neighborhood where a lot of roofs need to be replaced. So it is, yeah, persistence and being really assertive with expectations and not just doing what the customer says, understanding the reality of when they're going to make that decision. They're not going to wait a whole nother year. They're not doing it. Follow up in 9 months, follow up in 6 months. Hey, I know it's only been 6 months. Go into your automations and edit the automation and say, hey, I know you asked me to follow up in a year. I know it's only been 6 months. Just want to say Merry Christmas. Talk to you again in 6 more months, 3 more months, whatever it is. I just want to be top of mind so that whenever you're ready to make a decision, I'm here. And just set the automation. It's done. You've done it. They get an email, they get a text message, and you never forget. And we probably would have had a chance at selling. I mean, we really had a good connection, good rapport. He understood all of our products. He understood it was just, you got to be more assertive and more proactive with the following up.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. The people like to talk about like the 7 touch points. Like it takes
Yeah.
7 touch points to get a customer. But I think it's important to know or to like tag that statistic is for small B2C ecom.
Yeah.
That's where that statistic relatively holds true is like they're going to need to see 7 pieces of marketing from you and have 7 different touch points before they're willing to buy from you. That's not the right number for a roof or on the ProLine side, like for signing up for a CRM platform. I was just looking at this the other day. On average, we have something like 40 plus touch points. And that's just the touch points we're tracking in ProLine, like 40 plus touch points in many cases before we acquire a customer. And I think it's an even bigger financial decision for a roof than it is for ProLine as a software. So like I it's I maybe I don't know. The average is maybe a little bit different. It's a little bit more like immediate need based in many cases, but I just think the idea that you're going to sell a job and you're not going to be following up and you're not going to be engaging someone like day after day after day for an extended period of time is kind of wild. Like
Hmm.
that's what it takes. That's what it takes. I mean, like yeah, sometimes you're gonna sell something and you only talk to them twice, but like that's the very far end of the spectrum, low end of the spectrum.
Definitely true. And you can argue these points of like, oh, follow up, blah, blah, blah. You can talk about the different sales trainers out there that are the one-stop sales. Good for them. They are successful. Ask them what the close rate is from all their students is. It's not a lot different than what we do, which is if you understand how to present yourself well and do all the things that you can control that we talked about earlier, you want somebody to know, like, and trust you. And you follow up with them to show that customer that you really want to work with them. Your close rate is going to be almost identical to the one-stop closer. They're just not closing. They're not closing what you're saying they're closing. Like it's a good strategy. But two things about our business is that we don't door knock. Not to say we would never ever door knock, and we don't do one-stop closes. We will ask for the sale the first time, but we're not going to be super pressure going over 17 objections. It's just not who we are. We want the customer to want to work with us, not to overcome their, weak mindset of some level, or like that's what people are mostly doing. And so the follow-up is the answer. How do you get that close rate? How do you sell those jobs? You are very intentional and assertive with excellent follow-up. Everything you just said.
I think there's this really big misconception that aggressive sales follow up is high pressure sales. And I think it couldn't be opposite from the truth. Like it's what you just described. It's like the high pressure sales is trying to close people without sales follow up.
Yep.
Sales follow up is the exact opposite. Sales follow up is giving the customer a level of respect where you're not expecting them to make a 20, 30,000 or even, $15,000 decision at a drop of a hat. You're giving them the time, but you're staying on top of them to make sure that they do make that right decision for the like you're keeping the decision top of mind. You're educating them. Your sales follow up should be educating them along that path, and then we're just reminding them that you exist because people are busy and they forget that you exist. Like they are not spending all day thinking about you or even their roof in general. They're spending as little time on it as possible. So it's essential that you do that. And the only alternative, it's like either you're going to follow up or you're going to do high pressure sales, which is going to build a reputation in your market that may not be what you want.
It's true.
But no one no one ever built a bad reputation by being consistent with sales follow up. That's it's kind of it's this weird misconception that like sales follow up equals high pressure sales that I
Yep.
think a lot of people have. Yeah, because I mean, like if you are doing high pressure sales, like and you're doing sales follow up, I mean, you won't be following up with them for very long. So, yeah. Um, yep. And I think the key there is too, if you can automate the sales follow-up, or at least a good portion of it, then following up for a longer period of time makes more sense than if you're doing it all manually. um, cool. Anything else to add in on this equation? Being relentless.
Control what you control, think about what you can't control and don't worry about it, and then just be relentless on the daily activities that you know move the needle in the direction you want.
Yeah. Focus on what you can control. Yeah. It's like don't waste energy worrying about the price of materials or any of these things. Just like adjust and keep moving.
Yep.
So, um, makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Well, let's wrap up there for today. Um, what are you looking forward to this week, John?
Selling another roof tomorrow. We're
What did you
two
just
for
sold
two.
one today?
Yeah, we're 2 for 2.
Nice.
Monday and Tuesday, we just sold a roof each day. Sell another
Nice.
one tomorrow.
Yeah. Did that recent those recent storms spur some activity for you?
I doubt these. Neither one. They're both retail.
Retail
We
stuff.
like retail though.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. I'm gonna be going out of town the end of this week, going to Wyoming, which I'm really excited
Sweet.
about. I'm gonna do a hike um around the Grand Tetons. I can't remember that's through one of the passes. I'm really excited about it.
I've been to the Grand Tetons once. They're pretty sweet.
They're kind of cool, kind of cool. So I'm excited about that. But all right, cool. Well, we'll wrap it up there, and we will see everybody next week.
Bye, everybody.